Okay, in this video we're going to be doing multi-step equations, and we're just going to start with some basic ones and then work our way up. So let's just start with number one. Actually, number one would be a two-step equation. Let's do something a little harder. Let's try number 5. So I'm going to write it again on the next page. Alright, so here's number 5. Alright, so we're going to take 6 times 3x and 6 times 5. So that would be 18x minus 30. And then we still have the rest of the problem just as it was written. So the only thing that's changed is that we've distributed the 6. And notice that I have a negative 7x and an 18x. And it's really important that we know that they're on the same side of the equation. When you have, I'm going to write this down. When you have like terms on the same side of the equation, you can just add them. You don't have to do anything special. So I got positive 18x and a negative 7x. So positive 18x and negative 7x is going to give me an 11x. So I'm going to erase this and give myself some room. So I'm going to get an 11x minus 30 equals 25. And this is just a two-step equation, just like normal. We're going to add 30, add 30. This cancels out. We get 11x equals 55. And then we divide by 11. And we get that x equals 5. So again, you really have to get good at two-step equations to be able to do pretty much any other type of equation, because they all boil down eventually to two-step equations. And then from there, it should be just memory, muscle memory. You should know exactly what to do every time you get to there. If you need more practice on two-step equations, then raise your hand and I'll give you some more practice problems on two-step equations. Okay, now let's do number 12. So 12 looks pretty involved here. Okay, so go ahead and take a minute and write this down, and then we'll work it out. So the first thing that we need to do is distribute the 2 to the 9n and the 1. Then we're going to distribute the 7 to the n and to the 6. So I'm going to get 18n minus 2. Because don't forget, we're taking 2 times 1. So let me clean this up. It's a little hard to read. Okay, 18n minus 2 plus 7n plus 42. And all of that equals negative 60. So notice what I did. You're taking the 2 and distributing it. And then you take the 7 and distribute it. Then you come down, and I'm going to draw my line at my equation. And I'm going to look on this side, and I have some n's that I can put together. And 18n plus 7n, both of them are positive, so they're just going to get added. And we're going to get 25n. Then we have negative 2 and positive 42 that we can put together. So we have positive 42 and negative 2. Well, positive 42 plus negative 2, because we're always adding when they're on the same side of the equation, is positive 40. And all of that equals negative 60. So I'm going to erase and rewrite and try to clean it up. Okay, so now this is just a two-step equation. So hopefully you're getting very good at these. And we're going to subtract 40 from both sides. These 40s go away. And then we get 25n equals negative 100. Because negative 60 minus 40 is negative 100. Then we divide by 25. And these 25s go away. And if you take a negative 100 and divide it by 25, you get negative 4. So n equals negative 4. I want to review something with you before we go any further, and that's combining like terms. Okay, so if you have something like this and you're combining like terms, you need to just be careful that you realize what you're allowed to add and what you're not allowed to add. I have an m here. 8 is just a number. This is an m, and this is a number. I can only put numbers together with numbers and m's together with m's. So if I created a column chart, I have two different types of terms here. I have ones that have m's in it, and then I have ones that are just numbers. So if I put 12m here, and 8 here, and then negative 5m here, and negative 3 here, I could then see I could only put my 8 with my 3, my negative 3, and I could only put my 12m with my negative 5m. I think it's easy to see this when you put them in column charts, but in reality what you're really doing is you're just putting things that are alike together. You can only put something that's the same together, combining like terms. So this would be 12 minus 5 is 7, so 7m, and 8 minus 3 is 5. So let me erase this a little bit. Okay, so positive 5. And that's as good as it would get. Like, this is our final answer, because we didn't have an equal sign in this. So let's just do another one. Let's say we had negative x plus 7x minus 21 plus 9x minus 101. Okay, so I'm going to label my pieces here. I have an x, I have an x, I have a number, I have an x, and I have a number. And so I have x's and I have numbers. Those are the only things that I see here. What you really need to know is that this is a negative 1x. Whenever it's not written, that's automatically a 1. So I have a negative 1x, I have a 7x, I have a 9x, and then I have a negative 21 and a negative 101. And if I add all that together, I can even use my calculator. In my calculator I put negative 1 plus 9 plus 7, and that would give me, let's see, 16, 15. So 15x, and then on this side I got negative 21 plus negative 101, and that would give me 2, geez, I'm going to have to write a little higher, 2, 2, and 1, so negative. I'm going to have to rewrite this over here. I'm cutting myself off here. So 15x minus 122. That's as simple as it gets. So let's try another one. Let's do number 8. Okay. Okay. So if you haven't written it down yet, go ahead and take a minute and write it down. Notice this one's a little different. What we have to be really careful of is that we distribute a negative 3. Not just 3, but negative 3. So we're going to take negative 3 times 4w and negative 3 times 8. So the 7w just comes down. But now we have to multiply. So negative 3 times positive 4 is negative 12. And then it's going to be negative 12w. Negative 3 times positive 8 is negative 24. And then the rest of the problem just comes down. So take a minute and make sure you understand that we had to distribute a -3. So make sure you're multiplying everything in the parentheses by a -3. And now what I notice is, if I draw my line, I have two things on this side of the equation that I can put together. These two w's can go together. So a +7 and a -12. If you add it in your calculator, +7 plus -12, you're going to get a -5w. -24 equals 11. And then we're going to solve this. So I'm going to erase and give myself some more space, and we'll work it out from here. Oops. -5w minus 24 equals 11. So this is just a two-step equation. Hopefully you're getting really good at these. We're going to add 24 to both sides. These go away. We get -5w equals 35. And then we're going to divide by -5. These 5's go away, and we get that w equals -7. 35 divided by -5 is 37. I'm sorry. 35 divided by -5 is -7. Okay, the last one that I want to do is 13. 13 also has a little something happening to it that we need to be aware of. So let's try number 13. Okay, so here's what we need to know. We're going to distribute a -3 to these two terms, and then we're going to distribute a -1 to these two terms. And it's not written, so this is something that you're just going to have to pick up on. The fact that there's a negative out front of that parenthesis, and it's just a negative all by itself. It looks like a minus, but it's right out front of the parentheses. That means that it needs to be distributed. And to help us think clearer, we can make it a -1, because it doesn't change anything. Because multiplying by a -1 is the same thing as distributing a negative. So let's go ahead and go through this. So we got -3 times 3x. That's going to give us a -9x. Then we have -3 times 15. That's going to give us a -45. I'm going to switch colors here. I got -1 times 10. That's going to give me a -10. I have a -1 times x. That's going to give me a -1x. And then that equals 35. So I'm going to draw my line. Anything that's a like on this side of the equation, on the left side, I can put together. So I got -9x and -1x. I can just put those together. So I'm going to have -9 plus -1 is -10. And then I can also put together the -45 and the -10. And that's going to give me -55. And that's going to equal 35. So I'm going to give myself some space and rewrite this problem. So I have -10x minus 35 equals 55. Did I get that right? Nope, other way around. 55 here and 35 there. Alright, so we're going to add 55 to both sides. And these go away. Then I get -10x on this side equals 90 on here. Then we're going to divide by -10. Divide by -10. And these -10s go away. And if I take 90 and divide it by -10, I'm going to get -9. So we've done a couple hard ones together, and you'll notice that multi-step equations are very similar to regular equations. They're just maybe one more step, 2 more steps maybe. but they're really done all the same. So when you do find the answer, like the last one was -9, so what we're going to do is you put an X through the right answer, and it doesn't get used in the riddle. I can't remember any of the other answers, but I know we did more. So whatever the right answer is, scratch it out in the bottom of the page, and try to work out as many of these as you can, and ask for help when you need it.